Let's pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and county assemblies for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our county, and of those whose interests you've committed to our church. Say amen. Clerk, take us through the order of the day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable members. Order paper number 078 of Wednesday, 31st May, 2023 at 9 a.m. Order number 1, administration of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4, petitions.
Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
Statement time. Next order.
Commencement of business. Order number 8, motion. ECD Adult Education and Vocational Training Committee on the Kisumu County Education Fund report and financial statements first and second quarter for the period ended 30th March 2023 by Honorable Seth Okumu.
Honorable Seth Okumu.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to move a motion on the report, on the first and second quarterly report and financial statements of Kisumu County Education Fund for the period ended 31st March 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable members, Article 185 of the Constitution of Kenya gives the County Assembly powers Honorable members and Mr. Speaker, Article 185 of the Constitution of Kenya gives the County Assembly powers to oversight the county government and its expenditure. In fulfillment of these constitutional provisions, Standing Order 193 and the second schedule of the Kisumu County Assembly Standing Orders has established the Sectoral Committee on ECD, Adult Education and Vocational Training, whose mandate is to examine the operations of the Department on Education, Technical Training, and Social Services to ascertain whether public funds domiciled within the department have been utilized in lawful, authorized, effective, efficient, economical, and transparent manner. This report therefore contains committee proceedings on its consideration of first and second quarter report and financial statements for the period ended 31st March 2023, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 193 and second schedule of the Kisumu County Assembly. Honorable members, the Kisumu County Education Fund is established by and derives its authority from accountability from the Kisumu County Education Fund Act of 2014 and its amendment which is the Kisumu County Education Fund Amendment Act 2016. The fund has specific purposes and has the following objectives. One is to support students to join VTCs for market-driven skill acquisition. Two is to register more artisans in the informal sector with NATA for certification. Three is to address middle-level skill gaps and train for market uptake. Four is to carry out intense monitoring and mentorship for the beneficiaries to ensure return on investment. Five is to source for more funds to meet rising demand for bursaries and scholarship as specified in the Act. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, the committee comprises of 15 members, as mentioned in the budget, with Honorable Vitalis Komuda as the vice chair and Honorable Sethu Kumu as the chair. Mr. Speaker, the committee has 3 secretariat, Herman Moses, Rose Baraza, and Jacqueline, they being clerk assistant, sergeant at arm, and answered reporter. Mr. Speaker, on the legal framework, honorable members, the basis of this inquiry is founded on constitutional and legal provisions, which define the mandatory financial reporting criteria and holds accounting officers directly and personally liable for any loss of public funds under their trust. The committee has and will continue to invoke these provisions in its recommendations and to ensure that public resources channeled to the education fund is, in furtherance of its mandate, is utilized to the benefit of the residents of Kisumu County. And these legal provisions are as follows. Article 185 of the Constitution, which I talked about earlier, mandates the County Assembly to provide the mandate of the County Assembly in regards to all matters related to the 4th schedule of the Constitution. In particular, 185.3 of the Constitution provides that a County Assembly, while respecting the principle of separation of powers, may exercise oversight over the County Executive Committee and any county executive organ. Another Article 201 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 provides for the fundamental principles that guide all aspects of public finance, and the principles are inter alia. One, that there shall be openness, accountability, including public participation on financial matters. That is 201 Subarticle A. Subarticle D, that public money shall be used in prudent and responsible way. And Subarticle E, that financial management shall be responsible and fiscal reporting shall be clear. Another legal framework, Mr. Speaker, is Article 226 of the Constitution of Kenya, which places direct personal liability on management and administration of public funds on the responsible person. This legal provision has established the premise on the concept of individual and personal liability and responsibility, meaning that the act or omission complained of must have been done or undertaken with knowledge, consent, connivance of the person accused. And it provides as follows. If the holder of a public office, including political office, directs or approves the use of public funds contrary to law or instruction, the person is liable for any loss arising from that use and shall make good the loss whether the person remains the holder of the office or not. Honourable members, I believe you have taken that seriously. If the holder of a public office, including a political office, directs or approves the use of public funds contrary to law or instructions, the person is liable for any loss arising from the use and shall make good the loss whether the person remains the holder of the office or not. Honourable members, Section 116 subsection 1 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 gives the County Executive Committee member for Finance the power to establish public funds with the approval of the County Executive Committee and the County Assembly. Section 166 of PFM Act 2012 provides that a accounting officer for a county government entity shall prepare a report for each quarter of the financial year in respect of the entity. Further, this section requires the accounting officer to ensure that quarterly report contains information on the financial and non-financial performance of the entity and is in a form that complies with the standards prescribed and published by the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board from time to time. Honourable members, Section 166 of the PFM Act 2012 further requires that not later than 15 days after the end of each quarter, the accounting officer shall submit the quarterly report to the county treasury, who shall consolidate the financial statements within 1 month, and at the end of the quarter submit the financial statements to the county assembly with a copy to the National Treasury, Controller of Budget, and Commission of Revenue Allocation. Honourable members, the National Treasury Circular number 21 of 2016, in compliance with quarterly reporting, is outlined in the Public Finance Management Act 2012, which provides for an illustrative quarterly financial statements for the county executive. And, honourable members, the provision of the Kisumu County Education Act number 1 of 2014, which established the Education Fund, provides for the procedure for the management and administration of the fund, and the Kisumu County Education Fund Amendment Act 2016, which amended the Principal Act number 1 of 2014. Honourable members, those are the legal framework and basis on which this report is done. Honourable members, I want to talk about the management of the Kisumu County Education Fund. Mr. Speaker, the Kisumu County Education Fund is currently managed and administered in accordance with Section 5 of the Kisumu County Education Fund Amendment Act 2016 by Fund Administration Committee and a Key Management Committee comprising of the following. Honourable members, we have a Board of Trustees, which is the Fund Administration Committee, and it has 6 persons, with Oliver Olo Otunga as the chairperson, Daniel Okuta as the acting fund administrator, Rosemary Akinyande as a member, Hilda Oda as a member, Richard Okech as a member, and Dominic Odipo as a member. The key management of the fund has 4 people, with Oliver Olo Otunga as the chair, Daniel Okuta as the acting fund administrator, Japheth Orua as the fund accountant, and Thaddeus Omolo as the acting director, ECD. On the fiduciary oversight arrangements, we have CPA Geoffrey Dienya from the Directorate of Internal Audit and CPA Kezia Okoth from Directorate of Accounting Services. Those are the management of the fund, the education fund. Honourable members and Mr. Speaker, I'll go to the analysis of the first and second quarterly report and financial statement for Education Fund for the period ended 31st March 2023. Honourable members, I had mentioned that the Education Fund is established and administered in accordance with the Kisumu County Education Amendment Act 2016 and currently operates on key development objectives set out in the Kisumu County Government Integrated Development Plan, which is to improve education standards and increase the number of student intake by granting bursaries and scholarship to eligible students. This quarterly financial statement has thus been submitted in accordance with Section 166 of PFM Act 2012, which requires that at the end of each quarter, the administrator of a county public fund shall prepare financial statements for the fund in accordance with standards and formats prescribed by Public Sector Accounting Standards Board. Honourable members, during the analysis of this quarterly financial statement, we deliberated on statement of financial positions, statement of cash flows, statement of comparison of budgets and actual amounts, and notes to the financial statements, and then disbursement of that fund. Honorable members and Mr. Speaker, the fund statement for financial positions as at 31st March 2023 reflected an accumulated surplus of 1,315,721 at the end of the quarter, while the following assets and liabilities recorded zero balance within the period under review. That is receivable from non-exchange transactions, zero, prepayments, and inventories. All those recorded zero balances. Non-current assets and non-current liabilities, all those recorded zero balances. Honorable members and Mr. Speaker, the committee has noted that comparative data on financial position of the fund in the same period during the financial year 2021-2022 was not provided. Other members had mentioned that we were also looking, as we were doing the analysis, we had to look at the statement of comparison of budgets and actual amounts, and that was not provided for us to look into. So, other members, the fund statement of change in net assets during the period under review indicated that the fund had an opening balance of 11,224,573 as at 1st July 2022, and a surplus deficit of 9,908,851. Mr. Speaker, in quarter 1 and quarter 2, the fund received during the period under review 51,250,000 from the Exchequer. Honorable members and Mr. Speaker, the fund statement of cash flow for the period under review has recorded a transfer amount of 51 million, like I've mentioned, 250,000 received from the county government within the period under review. So the fund has so far expended 61,158,851. And this is incurred on the following payments: disbursement, 57,751,400, that is money disbursed as bursaries and scholarships. Then fund administration expenses of 3,407,751, totaling to the money I've mentioned above, which is 61,158,851. Honourable members, the committee has noted that the management of the fund has only utilized in quarter 1 and quarter 2 29% of the fund budget. So out of the total money that was allocated for education fund, only 29% has been spent in quarter 1 and quarter 2. But 55% of the fund administration expense has been spent. So we've utilized 29 on the budget and 55% on administration. There was, however, no comparative data on utilization of the fund during the same period in the previous financial year, because that would have showed us the performance, if we are doing well as compared to last year, or we are doing poorly. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, the quarterly report and financial statement of the period under review shows disbursement breakdown as follows: scholarship, 57,751,400. In the previous year, at the same time, we had spent 100,175,085 shillings. As of December last year, the total disbursement was 57,751,400, and compared to 2022, which was 100,175,085 shillings. Our observations and findings. Speaker and honorable members, following the analysis of the quarterly report, the committee made the following findings. That, one, the fund administrator did not provide the status of bursary disbursement. The committee is therefore unable to determine whether the fund has incurred payment of any bursary to the various needy students within the county during the period under review. Two, that the fund administrator did not provide a breakdown of how the fund administration expenditure has been spent so far. And three, that the fund administrator continues to implement the Kisumu County Education Amendment Act 2016 without a regulation, providing procedures for the management and administration of the fund. Recommendation, honorable members, Mr. Speaker, one, that the fund management should forward an implementation matrix for the fund indicating the number of beneficiaries of the fund and the institutions within 21 days on the adoption of this report for further scrutiny. Mr. Speaker, the second recommendation is that the fund management should submit proposed regulation of the Kisumu County Education Amendment Act 2016 for consideration within 21 days of the adoption of this report. Recommendation 3 is that the fund administrator should provide comparative data of the fund for the period 31st March 2022 during the financial year 2021-2022 for future comparative analysis for the fund. Remember, this will help us know how we are performing this year as compared to last year. And lastly, that the fund administrator should submit to this Honorable House an implementation status of recommendation of previous audited reports within 21 days of the adoption of this report for consideration. This fund was audited last financial year, and there were audit recommendations, and we just want the fund administrator to tell us how far they're implementing those recommendations. In conclusion, honorable members and Mr. Speaker, it's my honor and privilege on behalf of the Committee of ECD, Adult Education and Vocational Training, to move this motion for adoption of the report on the first quarter report and financial statement for the period ended 31st March 2023. And I want to ask the Honorable Benson Ambuti Adega to second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I second the motion.
Honorable members, now that the ECD Adult Education and Vocational Training Committee on the Kisumu County Education Fund report and financial statement for the first and second quarter for the period ended 30th March 2023 have been presented by the Honorable Sethu Kumu, seconded by Honorable Adega. As per our standing orders, I want to propose a question. And I propose that the motion on ECD, Adult Education and Vocational Training Committee on the Kisumu County Education Fund report and financial statements for the first quarter, second quarter for the period ended 30th March 2023 is open for debate. Yes, Honorable Gadolema.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of bursaries and this committee report, I'm perturbed that the chair of the committee has found out that there are a lot of findings and observations in this management committee of the Education Fund, but in the recommendations, there's nothing that is that has been alluded to towards the same. Like now, Mr. Speaker, the issue of bursary disbursement. Mr. Speaker, you are aware we are only 1 month to the end of the financial year. And these bursaries that we gave out, today it has not been paid. I don't know the mandate of the committee, to what extent they can push. Because literally in Kisumu County and the whole country, there's a lot of baggage on parents in terms of payment of fees. And the only thing that people can get from the government today that go directly to the households is one, the bursary. Even if it's 2,000, 1,000, 5,000, that is the only money that can come from the government to a specific household in this country. And therefore, when we decided to give out these bursaries, we knew that these people are needy. They require this thing to continue being in schools. Today, Mr. Speaker, there are several students who are out of school because of lack of payment of fees. We are here today, 1 month to the end of the financial year. Nothing has been paid to any student in Kisumu County towards bursary. The committee has found out that if you look at the first observation, that the fund administrator did not provide the status of bursary disbursement. I don't know to what extent or how the fund administrator is so superior to this house that we cannot demand and expect that he brings that report to us so that we see the disbursement. Mr. Speaker, since the COVID-19 came to this county, Kisumu County has been giving digital bursary. That is sending money direct to the accounts of the schools. 90% of those money doesn't go to those schools. And most of the money come back to the fund administrator's account. If they are sent, they are not delivered in the schools, they come back to the account. Nobody follows to say who got what and who didn't receive. You go to the wards and you find students saying, me, I was allocated money, I have not received mine to date. I allocated money, I have not received to date. Because initially, Mr. Speaker, you are aware that we used to give checks to these students. And we are very sure that when they take checks to the schools, they were given receipts on the same. Today, you go to a school with 5 accounts or 4 accounts. The county decides to use one account to send money. The school says they don't get that money. They don't see that money. You go to the bursars, you go to the accountants, they say you didn't receive that money. How do we know that so-and-so received money? If the committee can come here with a report that they were not given that schedule on disbursement of bursary. So where are we as the leaders representing those people on the ground? What do we tell them? Because we need to know that Onyango Tieno was given money on such a date and it went to this account, was received on such a date. So that when we give those information to our constituents, they can go with those to the school and tell the principal or whoever he is that money was sent from this account to this account on this day, and this is my name. Today we are here, we are discussing this, and the committee is, I pity the chair. I think, Mr. Speaker, the chair is overwhelmed. He's a panelist, he's a chair, he's a vice chair, he's in 12 committees. He cannot manage. He cannot manage these things. That's why we get half-baked reports. Because to tell us that you can't get a schedule of money paid to disburse to schools. So what are we discussing? What is the next recommendation we should get? Because we are here to go out from this house to the wards and deliver the same information that this is the schedule of payment of bursaries. You are sent money. Go to the school and get this information. Go to school and get your receipt for payment. So we are here discussing that we don't have the schedule, but we have to repass the report. Why do we pass the report? If they don't have the schedule, we can defer this report, let them go and get the schedule, they attach to it, to this report, so that when we discuss the report, we discuss it in finality. Because today we are asking, we don't have a schedule. So if you pass this report, then we forget about the schedule. So, Mr. Speaker, I will request this House that we defer this report, let the committee go back to the fund administrator, get at the schedule of disbursement, so that we see who and who got the money. Because these digital issues, we as the MCAs of this county, we were excluded. Because we never handle and tell even our constituents. Initially, we used to call everybody in a one public baraza and disburse checks in public when everybody sees that so and so has received, this school has received, these are the students, these are those who have not received and all that. Today, we are in a situation where we don't even know when money went, didn't go, or what. And we have to answer those questions to the constituents. So, Mr. Speaker, I will request this House that please, let's defer this report, tell the committee to go back to the fund administrator, get at the schedule, and let's have a comprehensive report that when we sit here to pass a report, then it's a conclusive report. We won't ask any other questions going forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm seeing two senior members standing, but because Honorable Iko is consecutive in coming to the chamber, so he's more senior than Honorable Buraro. So Honorable Iko first, but I think he has gone down. So Honorable Buraro, I think he has gone down.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for according me the opportunity, despite the fact that Oiko is senior, but I stepped in this assembly before Mr. Honorable Oiko stepped into this assembly first. Mr. Speaker, going by the reports that has been moved by a senior member, Honorable Seto Kumu, I first start by pointing out maybe an error. Don't know it was intentional, but it was an error to allude that when you talk about 31st March, end of 31st March, you are talking about second quarter. If the financial year starts with July, then when you talk about 31st March, you are talking about the third quarter, meaning that by the end of June, we are done with the financial year, which is 12 months. So that was an error writing that. If you go to page 13, you'll find another error under disbursement that the clerk maybe of the committee writing, period ended December 2023. Money that has been disbursed under scholarship is 57,751,400 shillings. Period ended December 2023. I don't know if we have reached December. I don't know what he meant by that, but that is an error that needs to be corrected if you're dealing with people who understand issue of finance and what they're talking about. And then he's comparing that with the period of 2022. Now, if I avoid the error part of it, this committee that my brother Honorable Seto Kumi is chairing is so dear to this House. The reality on the ground is that there are some of the things that we really need the executive to go and shed light through maybe media to tell people that we are in the process of disbursing money so that we as representatives of the people can feel relaxed. You know very well that the entire process of bursary is purely the work of an executive through this sectoral committee or through the department. And you know that it is the village admin, the ward admin, under that order that handle most of these things on behalf of the CC member and the department. But the person the people know very well that is responsible on issue of scholarship and bursary is those elected members we have in the assembly. And when people come to the elected members, they need answers. And we cannot, all of us, not all of us, or by just moral question, we cannot go to CC member to go and ask for the state of things the way they are. We'll be waiting for that through a sectoral committee that is headed or chaired by Seto Kumu. And for that reason, there's a gap that need to be filled. The executive must take the work seriously, because if they think that we'll be pampering them, then we'll be digging our own grave. It is their duty sometimes to inform the general public of the state of affairs. And that's why we have local media where they can talk about issues on implementation without trying to be negative or trying to attack them. So if I look at the quarterly report, it is so narrow that you cannot know what to discuss. It is just a PR exercise. And I'm urging my brother, if there's one MC where I respect in this assembly so much and is knowledgeable, is Honorable Seto Kumu. And being a chair I expect him to have a very serious report, because this is one of the sensitive areas that we have in this county that touches the people directly with the elected leaders. So when giving a report of a state, as one of the students who was taken to Ulanda Girls under scholarship, their class teacher was calling and asking the state, because they expect money to reach those schools. These are questions that we need to get here and learn from the report that we have not disbursed money for the people whom we took recently. And we are trying as a county to do this and that, so that the report is not just fabricated to mean that somebody has presented a report to be discussed. I'm one member who is insisting that in the near future, we'll be asking various chairpersons to be serious with their work and to show us what they have been doing so far. But whatever that has been brought forward for discussion, I want to support or to second my brother, Honorable Gado Lima, that better we defer so that we get a comprehensive report, something that shows that there is money being taken to different institutions. Which institution got what and how much? So that when you give me a report, I can have a report that after this session, I can now analyze it deeper and know, oh, this is where our money is going. But just writing 57 was disbursed. This comparing to last year, 57 million was disbursed to whose account, to which school, how much was it? As an elected leader, we need to be getting information that whether you go to a radio station today, you can defend the county assembly to be working. You can defend the executive, that the executive has done this and that and that. That's why you see many MPs trying to go to the media, trying to disburse checks, say that we have taken to Kisumu boys 800,000. That is the best way. We as leaders, we need to know where our money is, where our money is going. And even if we are in a state that some areas has not gotten money, we as leaders, we need to know that. So this report, because we might say yes, the way the majority leader was saying last time that ours we are ready to say yes. Yes, we are ready, but there are things that when you want to approve, we need to go down and sit and say, no, this one is not correct. We need to have a good detail so that the village admin and ward admin knows that we are doing a better work to follow up for them and our children or our students to be getting bursary and even giving them a good report. So, Mr. Speaker, with all the errors that I've stated and with the idea brought by Honorable Gad, I will plead with you, plead with the chair to kindly withdraw the report and consider pushing the executive to give him full details so that we discuss something that you can also talk about when you go to our various wards. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir. Honorable Iko.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. If you allow me to digress before I start on the real matter, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there was a time a resident of Kabonyo Kanyagwal came to your office. I brought him with a petition. Mr. Speaker, on Monday I received a call that the National Assembly Petition Committee was to come to Kabonyo Kanyagwal on that petition. I attended that meeting. It was a nice one. And the picture the public saw, that a common man on the ground can back, and the national government can come all the way from Nairobi to the rural area in Kabonyo Kanyagwal. And you know, they were complaining of some money that had been embezzled. They were complaining of poor management of the West Kanu irrigation scheme. Those were the two major issues. And Mr. Speaker, they were addressed. If people were free, I could have invited some people to come and hear with their ears and see with their eyes. It was a nice interaction. And what I saw, the money was stolen, but nothing our people can do. What I saw, the poor management of the infrastructure was taken seriously. And the National Irrigation Authority was cautioned to do something before the end of the year. That is how enlightened the common man has become on the ground. That is how enlightened the common man has become on the ground. So all the reports we are discussing here, let us not think that we are ahead of the common man. The common man is watching us. Honorable Speaker, now let me go to the report. Honorable Speaker, when I look at this report, it has been brought here for the sake of a report to be discussed by the members of Kisumu County Assembly and say yes. When you look at page 11, page 11, we are told the opening balance was 11,224,573 and a deficit of 9,908,851. What is that message? The good opening balance is only 315,722. An open glaring error. When we go ahead on the same page, we are told the department had received 51,250,000 for scholarship. Down there, we are again being told that what has been spent on scholarship is 61,158,851. Now, where has this money come from? Yet, we could have added 1.3 million to 51 million. Then we get about 53 million that has been spent. And we are now being told that 61 million has been spent. This error is not for nothing. This error is just to bring for us records to pass in this assembly. On the financial duration that has been brought here, when you look at the headline, it is a first and second quarter. And when you go through the record, they are talking of first, second, and third quarter. Was also this just a mere omission? And when we look at the figures presented, Mr. Speaker, we are told that 57,751,400 has been spent. 57 million has been spent on scholarship. And the figure that was spent on scholarship on the other period ought to have been within that period. Whether first, second, third was 100 million. And there we are told that this is a record for the period up to December 2023 and period for 2022. That means the record was not proofread. The record was not proofread. Whoever did the record did it as a formality because it is known records are brought here and our work is to pass. And when you take your time to interrogate the record, you are now a rebel. We are also passing this. Let everyone take his stand, but the people of Kisumu are watching us. Mr. Speaker, we ought to have got the record that scholarship has been paid for Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, Form 4. And this 57 million that has been paid, it relates to which form? Which students in which form have got their scholarship paid? That one we don't know here. And when we are on the ground, the members of the public are on our neck, their children are being sent away. What is happening? And if we are being tortured on the ground by the parents, and this is a kind of report a committee brings to this house, and we are going to pass, Mr. Speaker, we are failing the people of Kisumu County. However much one is proud, he's a chair, he's vice chair, he's a member of committee, one day you will be charged the role you have played in those committees. Mr. Speaker, we need a clear record. Mr. Speaker, when I was in that meeting of the petition committee, the chair was stressing to the members of the public, to the office of the National Education Authority. We want clarity. We want facts. We don't want stories. Let the committee give us the students whose scholarship fund have been paid. So that when we are on the ground, we know the county government has paid for Form 1, Form 2, up to what level. And the names of those students whose scholarships have been paid are tabulated. That is the answer we want. We don't talk stories here. As had been echoed, this is what a common man values a lot on the ground. Because this one goes to direct to the family. My child got scholarship, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. The government of Professor Nyong'o has done a wonderful job. The MCA is working. But the picture that is given here, we are not working. That is a picture that we are given here. We are not working. And with the recommendations that they have made, that they are condemning the department, that is a credit. That is a credit. Let us help them now, help the committee to prove to the executive that the report they brought to the committee, we could integrate, find the gaps, and we want those gaps to be filled. We want the members of the public to feel comfortable that good work is being done. But generally, Mr. Speaker, in this county, since we came, this matter of scholarship, matter of bursary is not taken seriously. When our children go to school, they go with the letters. Let us find a moment with the governor and we plead with him. If he's ready to listen, let him listen. If he feels we are noisemakers, let him feel we are noisemakers. This thing needs to be changed, When our children are going to school, let them go with money. The system they introduced of wiring money to the account is not bad according to me. But the failure comes when they don't educate us on that system. The department has refused to educate us on that system. I'm not saying it is a bad system. It is a good system. But since they have refused to educate us on the system, and the committee also feels that is its department, they are the ones who should know everything, that is where the problem comes. Mr. Speaker will offer this. Once money has been wired to the account of the schools, that is good. There's no problem with that. The paperwork must be done. The paperwork must be done so that they are given to us. When we go to the ground, we have the papers, showing that money has been paid to students of Kabonyo Kanyagwal in their respective schools. But one thing that I found out, even the department that also does not understand what they are doing. They don't understand their records. That is a major problem we have in this country. The department does not understand its records. I've gone there personally, discussed with them. Now in a situation where the department does not understand their record, children, money is paid. Children are being sent away from time to time. The MCA is being bombarded on the ground. Where's the scholarship money? Where's the bursary money? Mr. Speaker, we need to sit down with the governor and the minister so that this matter is sorted out. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I think I've contributed. I've aired my views as per the report. Thank you.
Still open for debate. Honorable James Were.
Mr. Speaker, I also rise to add my voice to the report. Mr. Speaker, I think report is a report showing the information that is tasked for a committee. Mr. Speaker, according to me, the committee did a wonderful job because the committee showed everything that they needed to report back to this House. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the committee findings, the committee noted that the management of fund has only realized the utilization of only 29%. Mr. Speaker, what I want to urge this House is that moving forward, Mr. Speaker, let us compel the executive so that 100% utilization is achieved, because our children depend on this fund, Mr. Speaker. Because currently, the bursary from the county plus the bursary from the national government is what is cushioning our children to go to school, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, if you look at the recommendation, one of the recommendations of the committee is that the fund management should forward an implementation matrix for the fund indicating the member of beneficiaries of the fund and the institutions within 21 days. And Mr. Speaker, I believe that the 21 days that were given by the committee has not elapsed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to support that we adopt this report, but Mr. Speaker, with the recommendation of the committee, let all the concerns that have been raised by the members be addressed so that moving forward, we can know that the fund that was created and passed by this Honorable House is being implemented in the right manner, and the money is reaching the beneficiaries in the same way that it is supposed to be. Mr. Speaker, I therefore beg to support this report.
Yes, Honorable James Omolo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I want to commend the committee for doing this work. Mr. Speaker, matters bursary in this county is very pertinent to the electorates. It is one of the benefits that came with devolution, and I think we have to really give it much efforts so that it works so well. Mr. Speaker, there are numerous recommendations by the committee which are very good and can push us forward. We, in the committee report, there's a realization of underutilization of the fund. In terms of absorption, I think the county is not doing so well, and I think it has been recommended that this needs to be pushed forward. Comparatively from the other financial year, by a time like this, under review, they had utilized over 100 million, but in this case, up to 57 million. So there is underutilization and absorption of the funds, which need to be really upscaled. Mr. Speaker, I think it's high time also as a county, we develop an ERP system for the bursary fund so that even the beneficiaries can just see what they have gotten and where is the money. According to fellow members, how they have spoken ahead of me, I think there is a gap which need to really be managed so that anybody anywhere in this county can be able to check his or her son's or daughter benefits, whether received by the school or otherwise. So that we cannot have these kind of gaps. Mr. Speaker, there are still a lot of gaps in the bursary regulations, which the committee have recommended that it be brought to this assembly so that we ratify and we make it work. There are some of regulations that are not really working, which the CCM member should really upscale his job to bring it to us so that we can pass it and make it operational. Mr. Speaker, as we speak now, only up to 61 million has been spent. This was amount which was given to the fund by the Exchequer, about 57 million. Then there was surplus as at the start of July 1st last year. So it means they had a surplus by the time the financial year was starting, and they were added money and they spent close to 61 million. I think having spent even that 61, they really need to upscale to spend more. Mr. Speaker, the reason I'm compelling or really asking the House to adopt this report, the recommendation thereof here will really push the executive to do the right thing and to make it work so that our students can get money whenever it should be in the schools. Mr. Speaker, as I wind up, I also want to add that anytime the e-banking is used, this is the problem. Anytime the e-banking is used, let the amount sent to the school vis-a-vis the list sent to the school be available to us. So that I know Nyakach girls received 1 million. Who are the students beneficiaries in Nyakach girls? Are they from Southwest? Are they from Kisumu Central? Where are they from? Who are they? How much did they get? This one will really solve a lot of issues. Because money can be sent to the school. Let's say those far-flung schools where we have like few students in that school. And the bursar just take it. Or it's given to another student who are not beneficiaries from this county. So I think e-banking is very good, yes, but it must be backed up with the data. Who are the students sent to Ribuoro Secondary School, the amount sent to that school, so that we are able to tell the parents or to answer them accordingly that your child already got this much, go to the school, get the receipt back. And also, Mr. Speaker, there should be emailing back and forth from the schools, because from what I've understood, when they send the money, they email the school. And in the bursary forms, we don't have where we indicate the emails to these schools. So sometimes the list or the beneficiary list don't even reach the schools. So some of these things, as a regulation, we really need to upscale so that we have data like school email address, which is official, so that the data gets to the right email address of that school, and they get the list for the amount that was disbursed to them via e-banking. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support the report, and I urge honorable members to support. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Geoffrey Warindo, Miwani Ward.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I want the House just to reflect on the spirit and the desires of those who drafted the 2010 Constitution. If you look at the functions that were devolved, they touches dearly on the lives of the common wananchi. We have education, health, agriculture, and roads. And the question that we should be asking ourselves, are we really fulfilling the spirit and the desires of those who fought for this Constitution? Education as one of them. I think it's through education that the society get normalized, it makes us equal, the rich and the poor. And our function as the county government, if you look at the Article 185, that is from the Constitution, is to oversight the county government on its expenditures. How are we going to fulfill this, Mr. Speaker, if we don't have the supporting schedules of these bursaries disbursement to schools? I think we just need to go back and sit and gauge ourselves if we are really doing what the people outside there expect from us. I expected from the report to see the schedules of how the disbursement were made. And actually, if you go to the rural places right now, parents are really complaining, and some schools are even going grounded because they can't run the school. Some of these schools depend on this bursaries money, Mr. Speaker. And from the recommendations that have been given, I want to believe that the committee is going to follow up on the recommendation, and we must find a way on how these bursaries can be handled so that we meet the expectations of those who drafted the Constitution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Nerea.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to support this report. Mr. Speaker, considering that the Education Committee is not an absolute independent body, but a committee, a body delegated by this House to look into issues of education within the county. Mr. Speaker, I've looked at the recommendations of this committee, and Mr. Speaker, the committee acknowledges very serious gaps within the department that needs to be bridged so that the education sector can effectively deliver to the people of Kisumu County. Mr. Speaker, considering the sentiments of the honorable members of the House, the recommendations of the committee, I want to ask, Mr. Speaker, that the House considers this report, but then together with the recommendations and the sentiments as recorded in the answer, Mr. Speaker, the House considers giving the department a timeline within which they can submit a regulation to implement this same fund, so that, Mr. Speaker, the gaps that the Honorable House is seeing are not talked about the second time a report is presented before this House. Mr. Speaker, I think the committee did its best, and as the Honorable House, we need to give them support, compliment them, and help them bridge the gaps so that the department can actually see that the House sees the gaps, but also in the spirit of working together and actually not witch hunting, that it is a requirement that they provide a full list as tabulating all the beneficiaries as has been requested by the House, so that the committee members can have an easy task of reporting back to us, Mr. Speaker, because they are responsible to us and we are responsible to the entire electorate of the county of Kisumu. So, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I think it is in good faith that we adopt this report, but give a timeline, Mr. Speaker, for the department to provide the requirements in the spirit of the report and in the spirit of the sentiments raised by the Honorable House. I support.
Yes, Honorable Samuel Nyango.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I raise to support this report. Mr. Speaker, we are all members of the different wards, whether we are in committee or not. So, Mr. Speaker, looking at the report of the committee, Mr. Speaker, that report is transparent and clear. If you check out the recommendation, example recommendation 1, that the fund management should forward an implementation matrix for the fund indicating the number of beneficiaries of the fund and the institution within 21 days of the adoption of this report. Mr. Speaker, being that maybe we are part of the committee, we are also MCAs of different wards. So when we are doing this report, especially on bursaries, we were keen. And that's why we decided to come up with this recommendation. And it will be our duty to make sure the committee that these recommendations are followed and they are there too. So I request all members, let us adopt this report. It is good. If it is adopted, I think, as my colleague Honorable Oiko was suggesting, it's not a matter of being chair. It's a matter of being MCA and it's a matter of being a ward representative of different wards. Even those chairs, they are MCAs. So nobody is superior than the other. So I request members to support.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
What is the point of order, Honorable?
Mr. Speaker, the member who was just on the floor, I don't know whether he finished or not. I don't think this house is ending tomorrow. And I think the proceedings of this plenary are not subject to any timelines. Mr. Speaker, to tell us to pass a report and wait for a matrix in 21 days, is that a good report? I don't know when the last time this committee met the Department of Education, the executive. So why could we just wait and get a full report before we pass this report? Because to tell us to adopt the report, then wait for 21 days to get the matrix. What is the hurry? And why the hurry? Do we need to bring another motion again, another report in this house after 21 days so that we pass the report again? What is the hurry that the committee has to deliver this? They would have given us a progressive report, then we wait for the 21 days, they give us a full report with the matrix.
Mr. Speaker.
I'm on a point of order.
The honorable member is on a point of order.
Please.
God, just go to the point of order straight.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, what I was trying to tell my brother, Honorable Samuel Nyango, is that we are not in a hurry to pass this report. Can we just get a progressive report, then wait for the full report with the matrix from the department? If they were assured of 21 days, we can wait and get the comprehensive report before we adopt a report which is half-baked. That is my point, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you so much, Honorable God. I am persuaded to rule you off or whatever, but I'll give Honorable Samuel Nyango time because if I had him clear, he was referring to the recommendation by the committee. And he said recommendation 1, and I think he quoted, quote by quote. But let me give Honorable Sami first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the member was on phone, so he was not attentive when I was speaking. Mr. Speaker, that was part of recommendation from the committee. So I urge members to adopt this report. Thank you.
Honorable Alice, Honorable Nerea, you are on a point of overtaken by events.
It's been overtaken by events, but Mr. Speaker,
thank you so much.
It is just a reminder to the members that when I rise on a point of order, I should be able to quote the standing order on which I'm arising.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Honorable Alice Wajewa.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I want to start by applauding the chair of the committee, Education Committee, for the elaborate report. Also want to congratulate the committee for the work well done. As you can see, it was a concern for the committee. The sentiments which have been put across by the fellow members, our honorable members, are the sentiments the committee also had. That's why they have come out with several recommendations which are clear. And I know that education, we should not play around with the issues of education, especially when it comes to the bursary. because most of our electorates and even people on the ground, they depend on bursary, 100%. Some of them cannot take their children to school. And it is very sad when some children are sent away from school because they have not paid school fees while they had been promised by the county government, especially when it comes to scholarships. So it is upon the committee to follow up on the recommendations with the fund manager, because as I can see from the report, the fund manager does not take his work seriously. So it's upon all of us and the MCAs and the Committee of Education to put the fund manager to tax so that his work, I mean, when next time when he's doing all these things, things should be straight, and we should do these issues, we should be transparent as much as possible. The issue of bursary is a problem. Even right from the start, from the time of issuing the forms, things are not done the way they should be done. And sometimes we can also, according to my observation, sometimes we can also blame us as the MCAs. We don't take our work seriously. So the fund manager, I think, is taking advantage of that. So next time, I think the committee should really come out with proper, they should add some, the sentiments of their members on the recommendations. Apart from the recommendations we have, there are also the sentiments of the members which are very important. They should also be added to the report. But as at now, I just beg to support the report. And I know next time, the fund manager is not going to do this kind of issues. Thank you so much.
Yes, Honorable Ogoyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, may I call the mover to reply?
Honorable Setokum.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the members for such candid and very open discussion. And in their discussion, I realized so many things. And allow me, Speaker, to take some time to at least correct some of the misdirection given by the Honorable Member of Nyakach Ward, Southwest Nyakach, the Honorable Gadolim. First, Honorable Members, a document was brought before this assembly, and it's the quarterly financial statements, and there were two. I believe each one had a chance to hear when they were being tabled. The role of the committee was to analyze those financial statements for those 2 quarters as they were brought. Bring a report before this House with the recommendation. You can add whatever you want, and then we demand for their implementation. Honorable members, I want to take you to page 3 of our report. We are having financial statements of a fund, and it's an education fund. This is not a bursary report. This is an analysis of financial statements of a fund, and it's education fund. And the education fund was tasked to do 7 things. And those 7 things include to support students to join VTCs. I believe you didn't hear anything towards that. To register more artisans in informal sector. I don't know if you have heard anything about that. To address middle-level skill gaps and train the market uptake. Those are the things that I thought members would have questioned on the fund as it's being implemented. Bursary is just part of what this fund is supposed to be doing. So in their statement, they should be telling us, apart from bursary, what are they doing towards those objectives that we had put in the Act, including training marine students and to review fund regulations. Honorable members and Mr. Speaker, we did our best as a committee to go through the two documents that were brought before us, and we made recommendations. And it's interesting. I was listening to my friend Gad and the honorable member for Kabonyo Kanyagwa, the honorable Benny Pete Oiko. And I'm realizing that even in 6 years in the assembly, they still don't understand what we are supposed to be doing here. And they think that being a chair of the committee translates you to being a member of the executive and to be getting documents. Our role is to analyze the documents that are brought before us, and with those documents, bring for you a report to this house. And then you make decision as a house. Our report is not to add documents that were not brought. And we've told you some of those documents we were not given. Where could we get them? Should we generate documents in our houses because we are members of the committee? Because you are a chair, now you have access to the list of bursary. We have said there they didn't give us. And that's why we are recommending that in 21 days, please give us those documents.
Honorable God, what is the point of order?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just been mentioned by the chair. I just want to clarify something, if you allow me.
You are saying your point of order.
Yes, the point of order is, Mr. Speaker, the chair and the committee is the link between the assembly and the executive. Not all of us, the 47 of us, can be walking to the executive to demand for information. And therefore, if the chair tells us we need to question who? Do we walk everybody to go and listen and talk to the executive? Or we have a committee responsible to bring the information? I think devolution mandates us that the chair and the committee will give this house the information that pertains to education in totality. Any document, anything that we need that from the education department should go through the chair and the committee.
Honorable Gadoleo, your point is noted. And, you know, the Honorable Seth is on the floor making replies. So he's supposed to make replies to all the concerns raised. But I gave you time because you said you are on a point of order. Let's make it a practice that when you are rising on a point of order, we say it's which point of order, so that we don't get into a debate when we are standing on a point of order. But anyway, you've raised your point, Honorable Seth.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Benny Pete, I've just given a direction.
Yeah, Honorable Speaker, you have given direction.
Yes.
And I've been advised to mention that I don't understand the report. Honorable Speaker, if I don't understand the report, then the chairman does not understand what he brought before this out.
Honorable
Mr.
Benny
Speaker,
Pete.
Look, let us look at that page 3 saying,
Honorable
and
Benny
let us
Pete.
go to page 12. And then
Honorable
we see
Benny
who's
Pete,
irrelevant.
I'm on my feet. Let's give Honorable Seth Okumu time to reply.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was just explaining that our role as the committee, or any other committee, our role is to analyze documents before us. If we need any more further documents, is to request. If we are given, we bring before this house. If we are not given, we come and report that we made a request for this particular document and we were not provided for. So we could not make decision. And it's now the resolution of this house regarding our recommendation. You make a decision on what we've said. I mean, you cannot force the committee to come up with documents that they don't generate. They cannot. It will never happen. And that's why we are given powers. Powers, if an officer does not provide documents that we need, we are given powers and assembly and we are told what to do. And that's why we are bringing for you this report in this house. In our analysis, we said that the fund administrator did not provide for us some documents, including implementation matrix. They did not provide. What are we supposed to do? Report to you that they did not provide. The decision lies with this house. And we made recommendations on what we think should happen. If you feel that those recommendations are not good enough, again, this House can change everything and make further recommendations. Delaying to pass this report just because we wrote 21 days does not help us, because just the way you are saying, and bursary is important, we need to know they've spent some money. Whom did they spend the money on? And we've said that they need to give us that list in 21 days. Who did they spend it on? How much was it? Which institution? Dad, if you are listening, I thought you were much smarter than today's submissions. But we said, please, in 21 days, give us the list of the people that you helped with the money. Tell us the institutions that you took that money to in 21 days. If the 21 days was so long, you would have just reduced it, give us in 3 days, as long as it's practical. We as a committee sat down and felt 21 days was enough for them to provide us with the documents that we wanted. We recommended several other things, including we needed a comparative data because they did not provide for us, so that we know, are we performing better? Because we are looking at financial statements to let us know, how are we doing in the last financial year? How are we doing now? And we are saying they did not provide for us that in certain aspects. And we are recommending, please provide for this House those comparative data so that the House can make a decision on them. And remember, I'm looking at the recommendations. We are even telling them, please tell us how you are, because this fund has been audited. Tell us how you are implementing the audit reports that were given to you. I don't know why you want this report to be delayed, for those who are advocating for this report to be delayed. Every report that we read, please, we'll look at the recommendation that the committee has put with regards to what we want done. Not how you are friendly with the chair or how you are feeling with the executive. And I want to tell honorable members, and Honorable Oiko was talking about the deficit, that we have a deficit of 9 million and we had an opening balance of 11 million. It's true, we had an opening balance. And the opening balance comes because the exchequer releases to this fund sometimes delays and goes to the next financial year. And it finds when some expenditure have been incurred that they need to pay. So sometimes, like right now, when we are pressurizing them to pay for scholarship, they choose not to go for some of those deficits and focus on the scholarship and just pay some. So you'll find that we carried money over and we had deficit, but we still have deficit from last financial year because they spent part of the money that we carried over on the scholarship that we are talking about right now. Honorable Warindo talked about devolved functions. And I want to agree. The focus that we are making here, especially on bursaries for high school, is not a devolved function. If you look at the function of this fund, we would have focused more on VTCs. We would have focused more on those kids that we want to give other students. We would have focused more on the marine school. But we focus more on bursaries because of the pressure we are having. When we know so well that bursaries for high school and university is not a devolved function. Your assessment on the financial statement was, how is the county government getting extra money, say from those released from exchequer, to fund for these bursaries? But the exchequer releases should only do devolved function. And our devolved functions on education include vocational training centers, ECDs, social services, those ones. But you hear members talk, and members who have been here for years.
Mr. Speaker, point of order.
Lastly,
on statement of facts, Mr. Speaker, standing order number 89.
What is it, Honorable Gadalema?
Mr. Speaker, I don't feel safe being in this house when a member is lying to this honorable house. Mr. Speaker, to tell us...
Honorable God, members don't lie.
Give wrong information. Thank you, sorry for that. Let me withdraw the line from the chair, but say, giving wrong information. Mr. Speaker, we are aware that education was devolved in VTCs and ECDs. We are aware of that. But in that Constitution 2010, there's nowhere that the bursary was talked about. Nobody in this country has talked about bursaries in any of the articles or the constitutions that we have. From the Honorable Chair to tell us that education was not devolved, so we should not pay bursaries. It's nowhere in the Constitution. That is our arrangement, and that's why that fund is legal. It's being given by anybody. It's a supportive entity that helps our people. So the issue of devolving education, we didn't say we are going to build secondary schools or universities. What we are saying, we are supporting our people and we need clarity. My second point is, Mr. Speaker, if you allow me, the chair is talking about him cannot get those documents. I don't know which one is superior. Is it the assembly or the executive? And we were not given. We were not given. Mr. Speaker, I think we should take this out seriously. The executive should know that this is a superior arm of this government. The assembly is the superior arm of the county government. The executive is a lower, is not a superior one. We are the superior arm of the county government. And therefore, we have the total authority to mandate, including the governor, to even appear before us. So if just a fund administrator denies a committee a report and tell us that he didn't give us, what do we do? He didn't give who? That should be sacked and it should be home today.
Thank you, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, I think we should take this up seriously and make this house be an honorable house which discusses issues that should be helping this county.
Honorable God, thank you so much. I want to rule you out of order on the second point of yours. The Honorable Chair did present, and I also had communicated the same, that anytime a committee is given work and you are not able to perform it within the given time, then just bring that report to the assembly with your recommendations. So if the committee is saying that they were never given the report and they have made a recommendation, then your resolution as a house is more powerful than the recommendation of the committee. That's why I want to rule you on the second part. But on the first part of your order, Honorable Seth, on the issue of devolved functions and the fund, the bursary fund, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I didn't say education is not devolved. I said education was devolved. Honorable God, I hope you are listening, because I don't want to hear you give a wrong image of the Second Assembly. Education is devolved, but the devolved function in that education aspect is VTCs and ECDs. That is what I was saying. Bursaries can be given to VTC kids too. Bursary can be given to ECD kids too, because they also pay school fees. The focus on bursary on high school and university, while those who are not devolved function, is what sometimes we question. We spend a lot of money on it. And your focus right now is not to ask on the objective of the fund as it was being made. And it's written so well. It's written so well. There are 7 objectives. You only focus on one. And that one that you are focusing on, we had said clearly, to source for more funds to meet the rising demand for bursaries and scholarship specified in the Act. We would have been looking for more money. In the last so many months, have they got any money anywhere? They didn't tell us. It's not there. We cannot show. Are they meeting the objective of the Education Act? I don't think so. And that's why we brought this report before you. But I know you, and I know other members too, good people who are here, very objective. Sometimes when you are subjective in a report, you mislead others. And I know you've led in misleading so many people. But I will not allow you. I have seen you on several occasions boasting to have joined UDA. And you see how that government is so confused. Because of people who are so eloquent, but do not have facts that they can put before the table. See how Kenyans are being taxed, including taxing a house help. And you support that? So wrong. That's what you are bringing in this report. We won't agree, please, honorable members, let's support this report so that the recommendations we have here can have an impact on the power that is talking about. If we don't support this report, then we will never see the list of membership of those people we have helped. We will never see the comparative analysis of our budget in the last financial year and this year. We will never see those things. Sitting down and saying that we defer, why should we defer? Please, members, don't be misled with people who are subjective. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, now that the motion on ECD, Adult Education and Vocational Training Committee on the Kisumu County Education Fund report and financial statements, that is the first and second quarter for the period ended 30th March 2023, have been presented, seconded, and debated. It is time that I put a question. But before I put the question, I want to remind members that in the voting, those who agree with the report means that you are agreeing with the recommendations and the debates therein. Those who oppose means that you are not agreeing with the report, and the committee will have to go back and do its work. But you know the guidelines of the standing order on the period that they're supposed to bring back the report. So I put the question. There are many of the opinion that the motion on ECD Adult Education and Vocational Training Committee on the Kisumu County Education Fund report and financial statements first and second quarter for the period ended 30th March 2023 as presented, debated, be adopted. Say aye.
Aye.
As many of the contrary opinions say nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. The ayes have it. And the motion on ECD Adult Education and Vocational Training Committee on the Kisumu County Education Fund report and financial statements first and second quarter for the period ended 30th March 2023 have been adopted today, Wednesday, the 31st of May 2023 at 10:43 hours. And I want to direct that the recommendations of the motion or the report be communicated to the relevant authorities or departments for action. And I also want to direct that the committee of implementation follow-ups on the same. Next order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable members. We don't have any other business for transaction.
Honorable members, there being no any other business to start, the House stands adjourned until today, the 31st of May 2023 at 2:30 p.m.